Hello everybody, thank you for clicking on our YouTube channel and for listening to the Fresh Report Part 1. We had a lot of support, thank you for clicking. Only 3 subscribers so far, so click on that button right below the screen so you can subscribe and see more of our videos. The last time in Part 1, we talked a lot about the lead situation in New Jersey. We heard of the Newark problem, we got some insight on what's happening in Bergen County and some of the problems we're facing. And we promised you in Part 2 that we would come back and talk about solutions and where we go from here. So now we're back with our wonderful guests. We have Wynnie Hinds, who is a big deal when it comes to to clean water issues and lead in Newark. Wynnie is a part of the group Newark Water.
I'm Clean Water, New Jersey Clean Water Action, and then also Association of New Jersey Environmental Commissions, and I'm also co-chair of the Newark Environmental Commission.
Perfect, but you were also part of that activist group, Newark Water Group,
yes,
that actually achieved some radical change in Newark. That's some time ago. So Wynnie's gonna have to help us achieve radical change in Bergen County also. And Carl and I, who are in Bergen County, we're waiting to hear that. And we also have Carl Bratman again with us. Carl is a 49-year resident of TNEC.
Right?
Not
Yes.
age, she wants to stress. But she could be from TNEC. And Carl, of course, on Part 1, if you haven't seen it yet, we invite you to go watch, because Carl gave us some really interesting perspective on how she jumped into this fight for clean water and for information about what's in our water from the authorities and also for accountability. Carl, I want to start talking about something we ended on the last time, which concerns me, which is your research about the link between lead in our water and cancer. And I know there isn't much information about it, which is also what concerns me, because I know you were able to find information from a global perspective of maybe other jurisdictions that have tested and are putting things out there as to the link between lead and cancer. But Wynnie also gave us some interesting perspective about cancer, which we should follow up on, because I didn't know before the last time of the link also of the potential carcinogenic effect of orthophosphate anti-corrosion agents in water, which is what they're using to prevent lead.
Yes.
And so I think we better keep that cancer concern on the radar. So if you want to share with us what your research really proved globally about cancer, that would be helpful.
Right. Well, globally, I can only cite one medical journal article that I found, and it was about Nigeria, where breast cancer had been very negligible up to the time that an oil company came and started drilling. And then they found a lot of lead in the pollutants that surrounded the community. And as a result, the rate of breast cancer skyrocketed. And what they did was they found that there were high levels of lead in the blood and the hair samples of women who were diagnosed with breast cancer. This had not been the case before this company came and the oil company started polluting the environment. So that's a direct link to lead. In addition, there were some medical articles that did connect cancer, and it was not just lead in water. It was air emissions of lead. They're called an endocrine disrupting metal. They're significantly associated with incidence of all breast cancer, and especially for ER-positive breast cancer. So that was gleaned from the articles that I just found. I did not find anything else that I could reference in terms of global. But I think that certainly the direct link of lead and breast cancer in women in Nigeria is certainly an important link to take note of.
And maybe something we should keep trying to get information about.
Yes.
Do you think that information is here in the United States? Because in the last segment, we really talked about the fact that we kind of dropped the ball on this, and based on the information that was put out there, maybe the kind of research that needed to have been done wasn't done. So it may be that the information is somewhere, but maybe not readily available in the United States in terms of...
Well, yeah, it is, because the effects of lead, it's been around for years. That's why they stopped it in 1986, that, you know, any new pipes would stop, wouldn't have to be from lead. It would have to be either copper or, you know, some other material, PVC or, you know, whatever else they use, galvanized steel. And so it's been known for years, the effects of lead. And there are studies based on it in terms of the effects on children, in terms of behavioral issues, kidney, you know, all of that. And so it's just that they decided to sort of disregard it. And so when the EPA set the action level at 15 parts per billion, knowing that there is no safe amount of lead. So it has been known, and the research is out there. So in terms of the United States, it is out there.
And I think thank you both for it, and thank you, Carol, because I think what we'll have to do is keep digging to find that link. Carol, I know you also have another concern, which is very interesting, because while we are concerned about the effects of lead, and we know they're real, right? And I remember, you know, I've never forgotten that little orange juice commercial where the little girl ran skipping through the fields, happy as a lark, drinking her orange juice. And the point of it was she just knew how good it was for her, and she didn't need the clinical research because she was living it. And it's the same thing with us in our society. We've seen the effects of lead, and we've talked about the learning issues, the IQ issues, and so on. So we know it's real, and we don't really need any particular scientist paid by any particular lobby group to sign off on this. But while we're at it, here's what compounds the problem, which we can't overlook. There are other toxins that are at work. There are accomplices in that water along with lead.
That's
and I
right.
know you've taken a look at some of these, and maybe you could just tease it a little bit for us.
Sure, I'll just mention they're called disinfection byproduct precursors, commonly known as DBPs, and they stand for bromodichloromethane and dibromochloromethane, and also trihalomethanes. They all are the result of chlorine, which is put in the water to, in essence, make it cleaner and more safe for us to drink. But the unfortunate result is that the chlorine reacts with other elements in the water to produce these byproducts, and these byproducts are carcinogenic.
Yeah.
The carcinogenic.
They are.
Yeah.
They are, and there's a huge amount of evidence as terms of the effects they could have.
What likely effects would we have seen, you think, that are not far-fetched? You know, like it's, you know.
Well, they said there's a higher evidence of stillbirths, bladder cancer, colorectal and rectal cancers, damage to the liver and kidneys. Trihalomethanes have been proven to be potentially genotoxic and mutagenic for humans. So they alter your endocrine system. They alter your body's DNA in a sense, which is really powerful. And this is not as well known as lead. So these three chemicals, need to be looked into, and they are present in the water from the Oradell Reservoir. Those of you who are,
who get water from Oradell.
Yes, they are.
Yeah.
And as a matter of fact, they even have admitted such, because I have a pamphlet from Oradell, from the Suez, saying this is a consumer confidence report issued in 2018. The reason I laugh is because if you read it, you're not going to have much confidence in the water.
Wow.
You're going to be frightened. And the level, they admit, the level of these DBPs is high.
Yeah.
Wynnie, did you have that experience or that conversation in Newark?
Absolutely. I remember back in 2015 when there was a notice that was sent out about trihalomethane and also haloacetic acid that was in the water. And like Carol pointed out, because it's a disinfectant byproduct, so when they put chloride in the water to kill the bacteria and the viruses, so it reacts with organic and inorganic matter, like algae and also leaves. And then so that's where you get them. And it causes all the other elements, you know, that Carol mentioned. And so basically they give, you the notice, and then they turn off the water fountains in the schools, and then, it goes out. And if you're not paying attention, you don't know that. And then so you're drinking the water because the trihalomethanes, it gets in your body through the skin, right? Aeration, and also, when you drink it.
So in other words, our work here isn't going to be done anytime soon. In other words, if we even get solutions for lead, and then maybe if we clean up the lead pipes, the orthophosphate goes. So we get rid of those two heads of the hydra. Then we're going to have all these other things, because last time we spoke about arsenic and hormones in the water and a host of other things. In other words, there is so much to be done for clean water.
Pesticides, yeah, depending on the water.
Pesticides.
Yeah, and the thing is that
Proteins.
the EPA has regulated chemicals in the water, so that and in others that are not regulated. So if the water utility people, if they take care of the regulated chemicals, they are fine. So you may still have the unregulated ones, and you're not fined for it, or you don't get a warning or anything.
It's crazy. And the other thing I think about is we're ignoring copper for the time being, because copper, the Suez and other water providers are supposed to also be monitoring and reporting on copper, but because lead is the big guy, right? We're kind of copper is the little misdemeanor in the works there. We're kind of ignoring it.
Rule. So so there's a certain amount, I think 80 parts per billion of copper.
For copper.
Yeah.
Much higher action level.
Yeah, which right now, because Clean Water Action and also the pediatrician from Flint, Dr. Mona Hanna-Attisha,
right.
Yeah, they went and they testified because the current administration is trying to weaken the lead and copper rule. So there was an open period where you were allowed to comment it, but right now it's closed. But I would suggest that everyone go and then contact their representatives and tell them not to weaken the lead and copper rule. So prior to that, with the lead rule, it was at 7%. If 7% lead service replacement line that was allowed, if they found the action level, it passed the action level, which was 15 parts per billion. Now they have the trigger level, which is 10 parts per billion. And so you're supposed to change, according to the regulation, you're supposed to change 7% of the pipes, or replace them yearly. Now it's been rolled back to 3%.
Oh.
So that's what
So it's
they're
even
trying
worse
to
than
do.
you thought, because you
Oh,
mentioned
yeah.
that the last
It would take
time how long it
15
would take
years,
you.
yes,
So
it would take 15
so you
years.
thought 10 to 15 is now 30 years. When we come back, Wynnie, to part 3, we want to get the radical solutions from you. We want to know how to burn City Hall down. Don't take me seriously, guys. But join us for part 3 when we jump into solutions about what is a very important issue that we really want people to be concerned about. Thank you for joining us for part 2.